When you go into philanthropy and charity, it's kind of similar to any service job. You're dedicating your life to helping others, and that can feel really good. You can kind of ride these highs of I'm making the world a better place. I'm trying my hardest to just do good in the world. But as you're doing those, swinging for those high highs, you then come back down because every day it's a new issue and another person with a problem. And you have to sometimes learn to say no because, I mean, nobody has endless funds to be able to fund everything and help everyone. So then, as much as you feel really great that you're helping a lot of people, you swing back down and go to a place of depression and kind of
Mm.
I like to say you get so sad that you have to say no, and you see people at their worst. That is literally your job, is to see people when they are at their absolute worst. And there are some people you can't help. And that's when you get to that kind of point that you're like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I help this person? And you become very depressed and very kind of defeated because you feel like no matter what, you're just putting a drop in the ocean, and you kind of get overwhelmed with the needs of the world. And then you'll help somebody and you'll swing back up and you'll feel great and you'll say, oh, great, I helped somebody. And then the next day you kind of swing back. And it's very similar, I think, to a lot of people who are like in the medical field. You can help somebody, but the next day you're going to see somebody else hurt. You're going to see somebody else sick. It's a very similar situation of wanting to dedicate your life and help everybody that you encounter, but every day you just keep seeing it.
That must be hard on you, right? Because I mean, you've made it your life's mission to help people. So how do you balance? Like, how do you, keep yourself centered?
Welcome to Your Wordless podcast, the space where we redefine success, self-worth, and transformation. I am Nick Nieras, the soul-centered architect of transformation, helping you unlock your highest potential and build a legacy beyond limits. Now, whether it is self-mastery, career breakthroughs, or wealth creation, this is where change begins. Now let's dive in.
Thank you. You make me sound way more impressive than I feel.
You are. Now, Morgan, this is your space, your spot, your spotlight. So, can you share with us what was it like growing up as a Morgan DeNicola? I hope I didn't butcher that.
It's fine. I had a relatively normal childhood, but my parents were serial entrepreneurs. So I was a shy, quiet kid until high school. And then, of course, became kind of a crazy, loud extrovert in a weird way. But I never knew what my parents were really doing. I just knew they were working all the time. I didn't realize until college that they were building this kind of empire of all of these different companies. And so I went to school to be a elementary special education teacher and left there realizing maybe I wasn't meant to be in the classroom. So I joined my parents in the businesses and just immediately went, I am not made for business. This is not where I want to be. But I've been lucky enough that my family has always been into charity and giving back because we've been really lucky. So I was able to have this wonderful conversation with them about me wanting to get into the philanthropic world and the charity world. And through a lot of really lucky circumstances and really good business ventures, we were able to, over time, form our family foundation.
Wow. This is the first time I have somebody who's like a philanthropist that comes onto my show. So I'm very, very honored, Morgan. Thank you for reaching out.
I'm happy to be here. I've been watching your shows, and I'm really glad I kind of stumbled across you on Podmatch, and I just started watching your shows, and I love your energy and the guests you've had. So I thought this could be fun.
Oh my God, that means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Okay, Morgan, so let's go to the questions then. How mental health is affected by philanthropy and causes? What do you mean by that being a swinging pendulum?
When you go into philanthropy and charity, it's kind of similar to any service job. You're dedicating your life to helping others, and that can feel really good. You can kind of ride these highs of I'm making the world a better place. I'm trying my hardest to just do good in the world. But as you're doing those swinging for those high highs, you then come back down because every day it's a new issue and another person with a problem. And you have to sometimes learn to say no because, I mean, nobody has endless funds to be able to fund everything and help everyone. So then, as much as you feel really great that you're helping a lot of people, you swing back down and go to a place of depression and kind of
Mm.
like to say you get so sad that you have to say no, and you see people at their worst. That is literally your job, is to see people when they are at their absolute worst, and there are some people you can't help. And that's when you get to that kind of point that you're like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I help this person? And you become very depressed and very kind of defeated because you feel like no matter what, you're just putting a drop in the ocean, and you kind of get overwhelmed with the needs of the world. And then you'll help somebody and you'll swing back up and you'll feel great and you'll say, oh, great, I helped somebody. And then the next day you kind of swing back. And it's very similar, I think, to a lot of people who are like in the medical field. You can help somebody, but the next day you're going to see somebody else hurt. You're going to see somebody else sick. It's a very similar situation of wanting to dedicate your life and help everybody that you encounter, but every day you just keep seeing it.
That must be hard on you, right? Because I mean, you've made it your life's mission to help people. So how do you balance? Like, how do you keep yourself centered? Are you stuck in a job that you don't love, feeling like you're meant for more? It is not in your head, it is in your soul. I am Nick Yaras, and I help high achievers like you break free from burnout, rewire self-doubt, and build a life aligned with purpose through coaching, hypnotherapy, and soul activation. Because let's face it, real wealth isn't just about money. It is about aligned and happy heart, mind, and soul. Now, remember, you are worthy and you are enough. Let's transform your life together. Visit www.thenickyaras.holisticlifestyle.com to begin.
I think mental health in general, even though it's kind of become, or throughout time has been, a little bit of a taboo topic, especially in the United States, people are starting to bring more light to it, that a lot of people are having issues with depression and anxiety. And we've come a long way in terms of even like therapy. Therapy is a great thing. It's no longer like a bad word. Getting into seeing a therapist can really be beneficial to you, and then you can contribute better to the world around you. So for me, it was started going to therapy, and I found a therapist that worked for me because I said, I don't want to be medicated. I want to figure out a way to feel good and to get myself through those lulls. And luckily, he was wonderful in talking to me about these ways of meditating, eating better, taking the time to ground yourself, be out in nature, and find those things that really make you see the beauty in the world again. So like for me, it is being in nature or being around animals, but also for me, it's actually cooking and baking. I love to cook and bake because my brain shuts off and then I forget about the world and I'm concentrating on what I'm baking because I don't want to burn it. I don't want to mess it up. And then I put all my love into it and then give it to, my family or my friends and, to hear, oh my God, this is great. Like, it's so nice to have that time that you not forget, but you can just quiet that part of your brain for a minute to do something else. I'm also really big into bubble baths and candles.
Self-care 101.
Self-care, I mean, it makes you feel better. You can hit that reset button. But I also make the joke that I cry. I cry a lot. And sometimes just getting that out, crying is not a bad thing. It's not a weak thing. I like to get on the treadmill and cry. So I'll like run until I cry, and getting two things done at once. You're crying it out, but you're actually like working out.
Uh-huh.
So that's a big thing for me, but it was a lot of that talking with a professional and that trial and error. Okay, this doesn't work. And getting to know the things that bring that little bit of joy to me when I'm alone and in my personal space, that can give me a break and give your brain that break. Because when that is your life, it's not just when you're in the office, it's not just when you're on your emails. I step away and I'm still thinking about work.
Yeah.
Like it's nonstop. And if I get an email from somebody asking about a program, it could be midnight and I'm not sleeping, and I'll pick it up and start going back to work. But you need those moments to really just say, I can feel myself getting super sad. Or even worse than sad, I think that disconnect where you stop feeling anything can be even more dangerous. And I think when you get to that part in your day that you're like, I'm not feeling as empathetic or I'm not feeling as connected, time for that self-care, time for that quieting it. I don't want to say turning it off because I never turn it off, but that quiet, okay, let me find something to bake, or let me get on the treadmill, or let me get outside for a little bit.
Hi, I'm Nicolette, your host of the Your Wordless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
Yeah. And I can resonate with the feeling guilty part when, I mean, the earlier part when you mentioned, we cannot help everybody, and we do our best to help those that we can. And sometimes I cannot help but to think that the world is, it's like I should be carrying the world on my shoulder, especially when we think we're very much privileged than, the people around us. So we feel like we have this responsibility to take on this things. I guess, and you mentioned, how do you balance that? Like today you'll feel so good because whatever, let's say a person who's asked, or a group or a community has asked for your help on from your foundation, and you manage to do and even exceed their expectation. But then tomorrow there's another community, you can't do that. It can bring that sadness. I'm finding it hard because for my personally, like me, even if I can help one person at a time, that's totally fine already. But if I can't help one person, I feel bad and I'll blame myself. So I guess it's that delicate balance of, you got to do what you need to do, but at the same time, you got to be graceful and kind to yourself. That, you're here to do what you can, and to the best of your ability. And so I want to tie this back to the philanthropy work. Now, I see growing up, philanthropies must be like, you gotta have X amount of net worth and whatnot. Is this myth true, or is it not true?
It's not true. I say that philanthropy is passion. If you have the passion, you're going to figure it out. I think that's always whatever it is we really want to do. It's kind of like when you're a kid and your parents are like, well, if you really like it, practice and dedicate yourself to it and keep getting up and keep doing it. That's really what philanthropy is. It's like figuring out how to make it work. And if you really, 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 you're not going to take no for an answer if you really want it. And I feel like your network is more important than the amount of money you have, because your network is the connections that you will be able to kind of rely on. So if somebody comes to me and says, in the upcoming school year, we need backpacks, I can then go through who I know that knows somebody that I can get backpacks in bulk. And then they can rely on me to also promote that connection and whatever it is that I do. It's the business of giving. So it's still very much a business in the sense that you want a good network and you want these good relationships and these good connections where everyone feels good, but also it can resonate and they can get their name out there as well to continue to build their network as well. So it's a lot more about the partnerships than the money
Mm.
that you have in your bank account. And that
Oh.
takes time, but that's also the fun, friendly part because you're going to find people that have very similar passions to you. And you can create these awesome friendships of people who are interested in also creating this beautiful, idealistic world that may never happen, but you can team up and feel good about that partnership, about that friendship, and keep that network growing. It just doesn't stop, but it can also be incredibly enjoyable. So it's not money helps. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, yeah, it's not money at all. Money helps, but again, it's those relationships because then you could get like sponsors. You can go to somebody and say, okay, well, I don't have the cash right now. Would you sponsor me? And then I will be sure to put your name at the forefront of what it is we are doing. And then the next thing that you need, come back to me and we'll see how we can make this happen. So it again is more about the relationships than it is about your bankroll.
When you mention sponsor versus having cash, what do you mean by that? So cash is like, okay, I write a check amount of this much and then give it to you and you're free to utilize that money. But as compared to sponsorship, how is that different?
So if I wanted to get bikes for a bike drive and I would go to the local bike shop and say, sponsor, be a part of this. So they could either donate bikes and have their name on it, or I
Right.
could go to
Okay.
another person that can write that check and say, you will be the sponsor of this. We have a mobile medical van right now in Lesotho, Africa. And we got that mobile medical van there with sponsors because to get a van there, even ambulance, it's called an ambulance, but you can't really call it that because it doesn't really do the same thing as an ambulance. But we got multiple sponsors to help get us the cash that was necessary to get this van there. And on the van, it has sponsors. So they're
Mm.
able to have their name literally on this van driving around. Now we
Trevor.
supply we supply all the medical supplies and we make sure that it's still working, the upkeep of but they helped us get it there.
Right.
So their name is tied to that and they are, our partners in it. So that's kind of the difference of that sponsorship versus just writing a check or if we just wrote the check.
Right. Wow. I've never, yeah, because in my head it's always just okay, somebody write, $1 million and then that's it, you're done. But you can also do that. And I'm gonna sponsor microphones if I am, yeah, if I'm supporting it for, young people just getting their voice out there and say, oh, Nick wants to sponsor microphones.
Yeah, and then I could put your logo on every microphone that I hand out. And then it is your sponsored microphone that I am
Oh,
just
sick.
distributing for you on
Oh.
behalf of you. And that's kind of, how that would work.
Okay, you kind of get the idea. Like, I have some ideas right now. Okay,
Always email me later, bounce them off me. We'll make
yes.
this happen. This is what I do is I get people come to me with these ideas and then I help them happen.
Wow. Okay, that is actually a good idea. All right. We'll take it offline then, Morgan.
Okay.
All right. So, what does it mean to be diplomatic in your everyday life? Now.
Everybody thinks diplomacy is political.
Mm.
And yes, I mean, it is. Some people in politics lack it. Some people are wonderful at it. But people don't realize that you actually need this in your day to day life. It's your ability to converse with anybody, to connect with anybody for something that is beyond you. So again, it would be like a willingness to work with people who view the world different to achieve something that is mutually beneficial.
I like
And
that.
yes,
Is that
and
from
like we even
dictionary?
no, see I try to simplify the dictionary and use world representations of it because like even think about anytime you were young and you tried to convince your parents to let you do something.
Mm.
right? And you're like, well, it's like a negotiation, this kind of give and take of choosing your words a little bit more carefully, of figuring out the best way to make people want to join you or listen to what it is you're doing. But you're also like, hey, but this will be good for you because I'll be out of the house. It's this kind of continued negotiation, but it's this beautiful art for me, in my opinion, because your ability to do this means you get different perspectives and different groups of people around you in your personal and professional life that can help you, guide you to see things different, see issues that might arise, even in your relationships, friendships, family functions. And it gives you more of that 360-degree view and prevents this idea of like concrete thinking that can be very dangerous. So to me, diplomacy goes way beyond politics. We all should be doing it and practicing it in our everyday life because the world will be a little bit more understanding and a little bit more inclusive, I want to say.
Diplomacy. It is a big word, but I can tell people who actually love connecting, it's just within them. It's a trait that they just, it oozes out, right? And especially in your line of work, I kind of notice people who are like this. We're more out there and we connect people. You said it very rightfully so. You make it happen. So I was from the corporate, and until very recently, actually last year, I couldn't really resonate anymore. Like the fact that I have to do something for somebody which is not aligned with my purpose. I don't feel good when I sleep, and I stress myself out because I don't hit a KPI that I don't really agree in the first place. Um, so I leaned into talking, which got me into podcasting because I wanted to see if there are other people experiencing similar difficulties that I had, which I had my divorce and then my corporate burnout. And so people are starting to resonate. So I love the journey is different, but kind of similar if you see it on a bigger scale. And so, Morgan, I'm actually looking at, I don't know, I had this vision. I want to set up my own foundation, which is why I'm asking all these questions for my listeners, but also for me. And I wanted to ask you, you don't really need X amount of money to start up a foundation, right? If I want to send somebody to school, I can sponsor one student at least and then send them off to school. And so now that you've been doing this for, I don't know, X amount of years now, what is the common theme that you notice when you're in this? I would say maybe you can share with us the challenges and the difficulties that media don't really portray, but you see it for us.
One of the biggest ones, if you're doing something a little bit more globally or getting into a group that you don't specifically identify with, is kind of the cultural differences. A lot of the times we want to do a program with a group that group doesn't necessarily want that program, or there's this disconnect in what the actual need is because culturally there are differences. And I think that that's something that we sometimes do, is we project how we think it should look or feel or what we think the need is, rather than actually having these open dialogues of what the people want and need. And it has to be a balance of both, because sometimes people want things, but it's not necessarily a need.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also a little bit of a tough conversation to have, because to them it's very much a need, but you have to have that understanding of your bandwidth, your abilities can only go so far. And that's why you need to focus on what it is you want to do. And that's why we have like our 4 passions, and it has to fall within those 4 passions. So you need to have those kind of ideas of what you want to accomplish, but speak to the people about what they want to see. So I think that's a big issue, as well as, again, it kind of gets a little political, is people have this they're not willing to work with certain people because of this view or because of that. And I think then we kind of start cutting off all these people that we could be working with or could be an example, a catalyst for change, so to speak. But we'd much rather judge or say, well, you know what, they were involved in this, so I'm not going to let them be involved in building this school. Now, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a moral code. Obviously, you have your morals, but I think that there needs to be this like elasticity of different people, different places, different times. It's going to be different the way they feel about certain things. And you have to have that allowance of those things and a willingness to involve everybody who wants to be involved, and not to play the morality police, in a way, to be more inclusive and involving everybody. And I think that that's a problem I see a lot, is a not willingness. Oh, well, they're, especially in the United States, they'll be like, oh, well, they helped fund a Republican, or they helped do something that's liberal, and it's like, that's not, you have to remember what your goal is. What is your goal? Focus on your goal and include people who want to be a part of that goal. And your kind of moral standpoints kind of need to take a back seat and have an understanding that that's shouldn't be as involved in what you're trying to accomplish. But I feel like that's a very hard thing.
Well, thank you for your honesty and your transparency. I also think, I mean, when you were saying those things, I just had some ideas in my mind where you don't really need to be dead set on a group helping that community. You can, I don't know if that is feasible, but I'm pretty sure you can work with other organizations, other NGOs, and then see if, oh, this part of the need or the request from the community we cannot provide, but this particular NGO is specialized in that. So we can work something out. And that's where the negotiation comes in, to try and see how it is a win-win solution for everybody. We want to get our name. It's a win-win for the foundation, where we get to grow our network, but it also a win-win for the one receiving the help, because it is beneficial for their livelihoods. So it's a very dead dance. People, at least me, it's perceived as, oh, you just throw money, and people don't. No, there's a lot more that goes into that, and that's why you have my respect, and for all the NGOs outside, not just United States, in the world, actually. If I could just, when I was a kid, I could never understand that, like, why would I do that? But right now, when things have happened in my life, I've become more mature and wiser, and say, what is the whole point of me just chasing the corporate, the money, and the status. Yeah, it's nice, but at the end of the day, we sleep better when we give, I think.
When you love
And
what you do too. I mean, I've created
exactly.
way more friends. I sleep better. I have more friends. I have more of a network, more connection with the world around me than I ever did when I was in business. Now, that's not to say if you're in the business world, but no, it's just because this is my passion. This is my love. This is what I like, going out and talking with people. And that lights a different part of you. So
Yeah.
it's definitely whatever I like to say what resonates with your soul, because you vibrate at a different level.
And I see that. I feel that. I enjoy. I love the work that you do. So, um, I feel very, yeah, again, I feel very honored to be talking to you. So, Morgan, talk to us about your 4 pillars of passion. What are they?
So our first one is humanitarian recognition. We have a humanitarian award that started out with American football in the NFL, and it goes to players and front staff and who give back to their communities. So a lot of NFL players have their own charities and their own outreach programs, and some really, really get involved and help a lot of people in their communities. So we at the Super Bowl, the big American football event, we go to that city and we give out these humanitarian awards to different players and different staff. So it started out with that. And I've met some incredible people, but through the conversation of speaking with my coworkers and my family, we are now branching out into the sciences. So we're going to be looking into doctors, nurses, technicians that are giving back to the world around us, as well as we started a junior humanitarian award for young kids that are starting to just give back to their community, that wants to give back to their community. So we go into schools and recognize these young kids that are just trying real hard to do really good things, because we think at a young age to really recognize that and encourage that will help them with that mentality to keep doing that. So that's our humanitarian recognition. And then we have conservation. So I do a lot of work with, there's a small zoo near my house. Now, it's not a normal zoo. A lot of these animals cannot be released into the wild. We actually saved them. They all have kind of special needs, and we use them as education. We're one of the top zoos in enrichment. Our animals are super happy. And we use them to teach young children about the impact that they have on the world around them and how we should really respect these animals and that they were here first, and how we need to decrease our carbon footprint. But we also plant trees, do cleanups, because we believe a healthy environment impacts our bodies and our minds. And then from there, we also do global health. So we've done a bunch of scholarships with the American Thoracic Society on studies for the lungs, all different kinds of things from asthma to COPD. We've also worked with other universities that have done things with cancer research, heart research. So global health is obviously, from conservation to global health, a big, big, big part of what we do, because again, if you're not healthy, how are you going to contribute to the world around you? How are you going to be a real active global citizen? So that's a big one for us. And then the other big one is the diplomacy, cultural diplomacy, and that's where we facilitate those dialogues between those different cultures, and as well as things like arts, music, food, trying to bring them from place to place as kind of these olive branches and these catalysts for conversations of differences, but also to enlighten ourselves. How do you know what you like? How do you know who you are if you don't experience everything around you? So that's a very big part of what we do. We highlight the fact that we're all different, and it's beautiful. It's awesome. So those are our 4 passions, and we pull them into everything we do on a daily basis.
Wow. My heart just lights up listening to you talking about those pillars. I don't know, maybe it's a good time for me to ponder, Nicolette, how can you give back? Take it up a notch. I may be giving back a little bit, true.
Well, the fun thing is and this is something that I was taught to hold on to when you kind of swing into those lulls, is you don't have to change the world. You can just change the world for one person. And I think that holding on to that is the most beautiful thing, is I don't have to have people build statues of me or completely change the world. But if I can, on a regular basis, have a positive impact for one person, that they view the world differently or feel better, then I have changed the world. And that's enough. So it's those small steps that really are fruitful and beautiful. And that's where you also never lose the human connection. So don't feel like you have to do anything crazy. You even doing these conversations can change the world for people. So don't think that you're not already doing it. I mean, I saw your podcasts. You made me want to talk to you. So, just keep doing what you're doing.
That was the message I needed to hear today. Thank you. Thank you, Morgan. That was
No
so.
problem.
Sometimes, when you're not, when you're not, you don't have this deals with, Spotify. So I have to admit, of course, I look up, to, the Joe Rogans, the Jay Shetty's, the Stephen Bartlett's. Of course, there's the, I don't want to say benchmark, but the top of the top. But they're not Nicolette. I mean, they have their own essence. I have my own essence. So, keep going at it. Just lay the foundation. Who knows, right?
Who knows? I mean, I in college was definitely did not know I was on the road that I was doing the normal college American stuff, at the nightclubs. And yeah, I didn't know where
Yes.
I was going to end up. And the universe puts you where it needs you. I truly believe that.
Yes. Okay, Morgan, what are you working on?
Oh, this is fun. So we are still building up to get those Science Humanitarian Awards. Hopefully that will launch 2026. So I'm very excited about that to get into the sciences and the science world. But we are also building a community center in the tiny village in Italy that my grandfather grew up in. And this
Oh.
is really cool because this goes back to our roots in Italy. And it's a town that it's like old school. I love going back. We go back every year, and it's very old school in these, in the hills of Italy, and to be able to give back and build this community center that is a need there. We're very involved with the community. We know exactly what the community wants and needs. And to be able to go back and do that, for our family and our lineage is really cool. It's just a fun, interesting thing that we are working on. And I have a few potential congressional delegations. We'll see if those come through. Right now in the United States, it's a little unsure of what happens globally. You go day by day and try to figure it out as you go. But we do have a few programs, global programs, hopefully that will be happening in the next few months. But in the meantime, I'm doing a lot of small programs with different schools. I just got a bunch of equipment for this elementary school for recess to help exercise, body, play, mind. It's cute and fun. I always love working with the little kids and getting what the schools aren't able to get, but to continue to help the kids flourish. So kind of sticking local right now until I
Until,
understand a little bit more
yeah.
of the global situation.
Yes. I mean, I was just in the States last year, so I thought of going back. And I'm like, okay, maybe we'll let it simmer down.
Just a little bit until
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
kind of figure out a
Figure
few
out.
things. The United States just needs a little self-reflection for a little bit.
Yeah. So the rest of the world will let you do your reflection, and then we'll be here when you're done reflecting.
But don't worry, it's not going to stop us humanitarians from still trying to help everyone, including ourselves.
Yes, yes. Very much needed message. Well, thank you for that reassurance, Morgan. Okay, so Morgan, we're gonna pivot to a self-worth question. Now, there's no right or wrong answer to this. It is what comes to you on the spot. So, okay, the question is: existential crises often led us to question the meaning and purpose of our lives. How have you navigated these challenging moments, and what insights have you gained?
You know what's funny is I just had one of these a few days
Oh,
ago. So the fact that you're asking that question,
see,
I had one a few days ago, having a conversation with a friend. I kind of snapped a little bit and had that, what am I doing here? What am I really contributing to the world? And then I kind of had that, the am I as good as I think I am? Am I as talented as, and then I just took a really, my dad used to always say, take a deep breath and adjust your crown. And that was always kind of his thing. It was to get back up. And if you really, again, truly want to do what it is that you do, you need to get back up. So I cried for a day. I think I watched some funny TV and ate a lot of chocolate. And then I remembered what I want to achieve. And I'm not going to be able to achieve any of that by having that woe is me. I'll give it to myself for about 24 hours. And then it's like, okay, you're not doing anything that's helping anybody. It's not helping you. It's not helping the world around you. But I think we all have that. Isn't that the self-identity crisis? Because I think we're told that we're supposed to know that by now. And I think that
Yeah.
you never know that. I don't think you know that until you go to the next, because we're ever evolving, ever changing entities. So I think that the pressure of you should know isn't real. I don't think you'll ever know.
I love that. You should know isn't real. Yeah. It's a social construct that you get, that when you get to 40 or 50, you have to be this person who achieved this and this, and, or not even that, or just follow the footsteps of my mom or my dad. And I too fell into that. I bought into that narrative where at 30 I should be settled. I
Mhm.
mean, for all that I know, 30 is when I restarted everything again. And 5 years in, I am still figuring things out in my second act of my career. So it is beautiful and it is a privilege, to be honest, for you to be human, I would say. I just had the same conversation with a guest where we said what it is to be human is for you to be able to experience all the emotions and the life experiences that the universe brings to you. And when you have those bad days, you remember you're human, you're allowed to cry. So embrace the duality.
It's also
Love
okay
it.
to not know. I
Yeah.
think that there's that if you don't know, you're not smart or you're not educated or you're
Yeah. You're
wishy-washy
behind.
and
Yeah, you're
yeah.
behind from your peers that are, at least getting somewhere in their lives.
Yeah, and I constantly people will come to me and ask me questions and I have no problem being like, "You know what? I don't know." And then they just stare at you like, "What do you mean you don't know?" And I don't know. I don't know. And I think that's sometimes the best thing to say in certain circumstances. I don't know.
Yes, I just don't know. I don't want to pretend that I know. I don't want to try and whip something up just to make you perceive that I know. No, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's figure
It
it
is
out
fine.
together.
Together.
I don't know.
I love that. Thank you so much for being so transparent, Morgan. Okay, so what is your heart's greatest wish?
To be recognized. I think it's to be recognized, your soul's recognition, in my opinion. I think everybody wants to really be seen, and I mean, like, inside and out for and I think that's why falling in love is so romantic and, you know, I think everybody wants to be seen for who they are as they grow and wherever they go. So I think that's what the heart wants most, is to be seen and connected.
I see you.
I see you.
Do you have a mantra that you live by?
Cry it out. No, I don't
I mean, I don't mind crying it out.
no, I don't I can't really say that I have a mantra. I have a lot of different little sayings that I like, but I can't say that I have one that sticks with me. I think each it depends on the day and how I'm feeling that day.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes it's just like get out of bed, and that's what I say over and over to myself. Get out of
Oh,
bed.
bad. Okay. Or fix your crowd.
Yes. Fix your crown. Come on.
Come on. Okay, now this flows nicely to my last question then. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
You only fail if you stop trying.
You only fail if you stop trying. Rest if you must, but don't you ever quit.
Never quit. Don't quit. Don't quit on yourself. Don't quit on the beauty that is in the world. I know it's so hard to see it some days, but it's there. You just have to sometimes look a little deeper. And I like to my here's a mantra that I like to say. If you can't see the beauty in the world, be the beauty in the world. That's a big one that I use.
How can people reach out to you?
I have our family foundation, the DeNicola Family Foundation.org, and there's a contact page on there, and that doesn't go to some random stranger. That is me.
Oh,
Yes, so you can go to our website and message me on there, or we're also on all social media. So Instagram, Facebook, DeNicola Family Foundation. If you message on either of those, that's also me.
you.
Yes, I respond to all of those. And, it doesn't just have to be a program. Sometimes if you just want to be seen, message me, hey, I will say hey back. But that's your best way of finding me. I also have my personal social media, Instagram, Facebook, cooking videos on TikTok. I'm not going to lie, but that's my personal social media. So it's mostly a bunch of pictures of my dogs.
Well, I love them. Okay. Any last message before we close this episode?
Love yourself, love the world, contribute, keep going. It's not all bad.
Thank you. Thank you, Morgan. Well, that is a wrap on today's inspiring episode with Morgan DeNicola. Thank you for your wisdom and for your work and your dedication to continue uplifting the world around you. Now, for all of our listeners, this has been Your Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very self. Now, if you've ever felt worthless, don't worry. You are not alone. Your soul chose to be here to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. A huge thank you to you again, Morgan, and to all of you for listening. Until next time, I am Nick Nieras. Keep shining, keep growing, and always remember, you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you.
Hi, Morgan. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great too. Well, thank you for reaching out and thank you for saying yes to be interviewed today. Now, I'd like to introduce myself to you formally and to all of our listeners tuning in today. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, today we're going to talk about humanitarian programs and conservation amongst all the other topic we're going to talk about, and what does it mean to be philanthropic. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to all of our listeners first, and then we can get right into our conversation.
Beautiful. Hello, listeners.
Yes. So hello everyone, we have Morgan DeNicola here with us. Morgan is an executive director of the DeNicola Family Foundation, which has allowed her to focus on her 4 passions of cultural diplomacy, world health, humanitarian recognition, and conservation. Now, as vice chairman of the Humpty Dumpty Institute in New York, she has traveled globally to inform and foster dialogues among critical stakeholders on key global issues. She works closely with the U.S. Congress, U.S. Department of State, the UN, and international embassies, where she engages people to support cultural diplomacy and humanitarian programs. Well, welcome to the show, Morgan.
Love this episode? Now, transformation doesn't end here. Head on to @holistic.lifestyle_with_Nick. That is on my Instagram. Or head on to my website, www.DeNicolasWholisticlifestyle.com for more info on my coaching framework, which is the Worthy, Authentic, and Abundant Framework, digital guides, and my upcoming events such as retreats and master classes and workshops. Now, I also do intuitive readings where we get to check on your soul path